as a side note, I really hope I'm not talking too fast in these commentaries. I know that I can get really excited and speak really fast. I am trying. But if I'm talking too fast, I'm sorry. I'm going to try and write out a transcript of each of the commentary videos, so hopefully you'll be able to follow that along, if nothing else. But yeah, so apologies. I am trying. This track does the Inferno Scream at Night, which is a bit of an emo title, but it fits. There was actually an alternate title for this track. So the first, quite a lot of the tracks I had a little working title while I was doing them, and then I came up with a proper title later. This one was originally just called The Nightmare, but it's also known as Do Trees Have Nightmares of Axes and Saws, which I decided was too long. But it's about forest, basically, if you hadn't figured out from those two titles. And I'll tell you the story about it, but it is the last track on the album that I wrote, and it was a challenge. It was an interesting challenge because of I had the idea for the track, and I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to write this? How am I going to convey what needs to be conveyed for the story? But I'm quite pleased with how it turned out in the end, so that's nice. So onto the story. So where we left off last time, Forest and Ruin had split up against Forest's better judgment, and so now Ruin is on the run, hiding from the forces, and Forest is supposed to be doing that too, but he decides in his wisdom that actually what he's going to do is attack the forces on his own. I said in the last commentary that he's pretty arrogant. I think that was part of what fed into it. I think he was also really angry and emotional about the fact that Ruin had gone, in part anyway. So that's why, and I think he was like, I've just got to stop this. And I think he was thinking, if I can stop the forces, then they won't be hunting us down anymore. Then Ruin will come back. I think that's what he was thinking. Anyway, he wasn't really thinking. Let's be real. Anyway, so of course, he does not win, because he is nowhere near as powerful as the others. And so they capture him. And they take him back to the Hall of the Celestial Forces. And well, at this point, the forces are pretty sure that they've got that Ruin and Forest have got some scheme going on against them. And Chaos wasn't the only person saying that. Like, they all sort of fed into their own paranoia and decided that was what was going on. So even though Chaos was the one sort of making people think things, actually they all came to their own decision themselves, and it wasn't just Chaos, they were all thinking that. So they decide that what they should do is torture Forest for information. Partly because they think he knows where Ruin is, because they are connected, because they're both two parts of time. So if he knows where she is, then they can find out, and it will save them a lot of time, because they want Ruin back, because what they want to merge the two together, and they're hoping that when they merge, they won't have any memories, so then they'll be able to control time completely. And if they do have memories, then they will deal with those memories, basically. But they also think that because the two of them are connected, that if they talk to Forest, then Ruin will realise what's going on, that they're hurting Forest, and will come and rescue him. And then if Ruin does come to rescue him, Forest will be really weak, and then they won't be able to escape, so then they'll capture both of them. That's the idea. And they're not wrong, because Ruin does realise that they are hurting Forest. I'm not sure how long it takes her to get to the Hall of Celestial Forces. I'm not sure how, because bear in mind that she's been trying to hide out. Also, I don't know if she knows how to get there precisely, but she does figure it out. So the point is, there's a reasonable amount of time when Forest is with the Celestial Forces having a really bad time. And while they're connected, he doesn't actually know where she is. But he doesn't say that. Well, the first thing he does. So I'll talk through the track now. I'll talk through all the leitmotifs. So the first little bit you hear is the Celestial Forces theme, but it's Forrest who's singing it, and he says, he says the same words that Culture says in the Hall of the Celestial Forces. He's talking about the fact that there are these beings that are more ancient and powerful than anything else he knows. But he says at the end, and they say that I'm one of them. And then it changes into Forest's theme, and he says, but I'm the forest, and I'll take you down with me, and I'll never tell you a thing, because I'm the forest. It's basically just being his stubborn self. And I think the Celestial Forces underestimated both Forest and Ruin's stubbornness in this whole affair. And then you hear the Celestial Forces as well. You hear them singing their own theme. I don't actually have any lyrics for that at the moment. I might do by the time I actually post this video. But they're just singing their theme, being generally threatening. They've also been singing this other theme, which is... I don't really have a name for that theme in particular, but it comes up again in another track. In this particular context, it's the Celestial Forces, and they are saying, "There's nowhere left that you can run. There's nowhere you can hide," to Forest. And so they're saying this, and then the track transitions into them basically torturing him, and he says, he starts off saying, "I'm not afraid of you," whilst they're saying, "Just tell us where she is, tell us what you know." And in the background you can hear the Remember the Days theme. Particularly it's the line, "Do you remember the days when we were young and unafraid?" And I think that is Forrest drawing on that memory to keep himself strong and keep himself going. Or it might be, if you want to interpret it this way, it might be Ruin actually knowing what's happening and coming to him and trying to say, "Stay strong, stay strong." So you can interpret it any way you like, I guess. But then it switches because it gets worse, and he starts saying, "I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is," and he just repeats that. And that's when, so then the track starts looping into that, like the chord pattern loops itself. It cuts itself in half and loops. And the reason I wanted to do that was I wanted to... So technically this is actually a nightmare sequence. So this is him remembering what happened. And I like the idea of it him getting caught on this moment and it looping again and again and getting stuck. Because he gets stuck in that trauma of what happened. Which means, because it's a nightmare, so then what happens in this track is that he actually wakes up, and you can hear when he wakes up because the chord pattern continues as it should have done, and it sort of gets a bit quieter. But what actually happens in the story is that Ruin, she turns into a barn owl, and I don't think the Celestial Forces realise she could do that, and so that's how she's able to get into the hall without them noticing, and she's able to get Forrest out and they escape. Like I said, they underestimate their stubbornness, and they didn't think that even when Forrest is in a really bad way, because he was, that he would have the strength to escape, but he did. Unfortunately, so Forrest has been, and Ruin are no longer in the Celestial Hall, they're back in the mortal world. But the damage is already done, because as far as Forrest is concerned, Ruin abandoned him, and then he went and fought on his own, and then got captured, and then he was being hurt for quite a long while before Ruin actually managed to get to him, which is not her fault. She did her best, but he doesn't know that, and he's in this state. He's not in a good place. So, but as far as he was concerned, he was hurt, and he needed her, and he was alone. And it's like, bear in mind, it was also compounded with the fact that they'd never been alone before, so, but anyway, he doesn't even let her try and tend his wounds, he just makes her go. So then, that is part of why they are no, they're apart. So in the later story, so they're not. It's not just because they split up to protect themselves from the forces. It's also because they sort of pushed each other apart after this event. And Forrest at this point just wants nothing to do with Ruin. He like just hates her. Well, he doesn't hate her. But he does. It's complicated. But he wants to hate her, so he does. But he misses her really. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say other than it's sad. Neither of them are happy about what happens here, obviously. But yeah, so that's that story. But it's okay. There's more story to come. This isn't the end, and you'll hear about it. You'll hear what happens. But yeah, that's it, I think. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and I hope you enjoyed.